A man reproduces himself through his child, so when he leave here, he can just smile. But I see fit to stay here a while, maybe buy a timeshare somewhere, rock bumwear, beach chair, write a book each year. You can write yourself out of your blessings. Wreck your Lambo the first day just by driving too reckless. Time is too precious, these some obvious lessons. Please remind me to watch my step while I balance on edge and ski on the slopes of life. Slide down the Ave at night, watching them graphing graffiti on walls, that's the sight. Cars from Germany, I be pushing the fastest type. Looking at real estate, brother, I need to ask it price. Imagine another rapper making me perspire. I got more styles and more flows, plus I'm much flyer. I got more heights to reach, but I'm already higher. I'm already on to the next thing. Peace and bless, King.
Peace and bless, King. Hey guys, what's going on? It is What It Takes. Appreciate you all for checking in. When you check in, whether it's every week or every other week, you know I will be here every week. And I had a situation last week. I totally forgot to upload the video. So what I ended up doing was uploading it the next day. And I think you all like it in the afternoon. So this might be interesting because I may change from 8 o'clock at night to afternoon, if that helps you all in watching them. So that was interesting, that uptick. So yeah, you know, we're working on trying different things out. I'm having a little bit of technical glitches with this video, so bear with me. I think they just want me to talk slower, so I will talk slower and not have too many movements. Guys, remember, just some quick housekeeping: like, subscribe, share any information that you want to hear on this show, What It Takes, as regards to real estate or even just your business in general. Put it in the comments or DM me, etc., and I definitely will get to it and answer your questions or make a video about it. You know, we're debuting this show currently at 8:30 every Mondays. I'm here recording this every Monday, and I hope to get it out to you by 8:30. I may do it earlier. Let's see. I might work with it. One of the things when you're working on your marketing, your branding, your presence in general is that we do like to try different things. So maybe I'll do it early in the day and in the evening. I don't know. We'll see. Remember, Wednesdays, my brother Joel has It Starts With Me. Each and every week, he interviews different entrepreneurs, coaches, all different types of people on that show. I think it's in a hiatus now, revving up for season 2, which is on, when does season 2 start? In March. And of course, every Fridays we have Community Beacon. So check us out. That normally drops at around 6:30 on Fridays. We're actually starting back to video for the male perspective, which is done at Podcast Plus. So I'll give you the updates on that show when that comes around. Right now, what I will get into is real estate news, something that I found interesting, topics that I find interesting. Every week I've been talking about mortgage rates, and I think it's pretty much stabilized. We're right between 6 and 6.5. What's interesting is it's this huge thing about 6 and 6.5% interest rate. I think it was 6.3% last week. But when it was going between, 2.5 and 3.5 and 4%, which tended to be these bigger jumps or gaps, nobody was interested then. Now all of a sudden it's 6.5%, and every day I'm getting emails and information and news. Oh, the mortgage jumped up to 6.5%. Well, it was just 6.3%. Then it was 6.1%. And don't get me wrong, this does make a difference in your mortgage paying, but it makes a couple $100 difference between paying 6% and 6.5%. But this is something about the media, guys. It's something about the media. So yeah, we're around 6.3%. Something that may I think personally is a little bit more important, specifically for homeowners, is the homestead. So it says lawmakers looking at change to save our homes. Yearly tax value increases are capped at 3% on homesteaded properties, but voters may be able to lower to 2% if the legislature passes an amendment proposal. Let's get this started. I don't have a crystal ball. But if you put on there that they're going to change the homestead, the tax, meaning how it affects your taxes, because right now, if you homestead your property, then the taxes or the increase in taxes is capped at 3%, which means a lot, especially with what happened in the last couple of years. Remember, this same thing happened back in 2000. Thank God for Homestead, where and then we got the portability, which changed a lot of governments, because we did see a lot of hiring freezes after when we were able to port those taxes in 08, 09. I guess Obama was voted in 08. So the portability tax came in around 2009, 10, somewhere around there. And I was actually working at the city at that time, and they just stopped raises, period. There were no more raises. I want to say they gave us cost of living, but they didn't give us raises based upon our performance. So that definitely made a difference. There was a huge hiring freeze, and they actually, at that point in time, they started, real quick story. So I had only been at the city for a short amount of time at that point, but because of the portability taxes or the effects therein, which means that whenever you're changing these taxes and you're able to port, that the revenue slow down. A lot of these revenues the cities were counting on. So what they ended up doing was they attempted to not lay off. Initially, they were asking people to volunteer to retire if they were around that age, or they could get their benefits. But you had to have been working at the city for 5 years. But they were willing to pay like a year. I want to say it was close to a year of your salary. And then they were going to give you insurance for like a year or 2 years after that. I had only been at the city for 2 years. I know I didn't want to be there long term. I was trying to figure out how I could have got involved with that retirement, whatever they were doing. But unfortunately, or fortunately, because I definitely believe that we're doing everything for reasons, I wasn't able to. But a lot of people were able to take advantage of it. Some people just weren't leaving. They weren't leaving. And the interesting was, the longer that a lot of these people waited, because the layoffs were coming, the worse that package got, that compensation package got. It got terrible. And then when it finally got to the last time they offered it, it was like they were giving you like a ham sandwich, and you still had to leave, or you're going to be laid off. All right, scene. So getting back to this, they're talking about lowering it to 2%, which is an even greater amount. And then here was the interesting part, because as I read through this entire bill, I'm like, well, why wouldn't we vote on this? And I don't have a crystal ball, but most people are going to vote. But then when you look, and I'm not really interested in how much money it'll cut the government revenue, because the government has to become better spenders with the money. Because if we actually really went through the budgets with a fine-tooth comb, and we were a little bit more adamant about it, we find money in different places. I'm almost sure. But what also was like, because I'm always open to different discussions and different viewpoints, was that we may see an increase of non-homesteaded property. So for investors, so right now you will see some investors paying interesting amounts as it regards to taxes. Like I've seen places where if you lived in the property and you homesteaded the property, you were paying, maybe between $1,200 and $1,800, depending on when you bought the property. And you saw some investors paying $6,000-$7,000 a year. So that's a huge difference and tax burden. So, that's one of the things that some of these people are fighting, saying that, well, the investors or the people, the non-residents who do own properties, how much it'll go up to and what kind of effect that will have. So it'll be interesting. It looks like this proposal is filed for consideration during the legislative session that will start on March 7th. So I would, let's take a look at it. Watch out for it. And then you need to see your own, especially if you own properties that aren't your residences, properties that you can't homestead. You may need to figure out, may need to talk with your tax person or accountant in regards to, how you can help to alleviate it if it does pass and it becomes a tax burden. So that's it, man. I thought that was some interesting stuff. I always find these different things, especially as it hits close to home, because there are ramifications, right? All right, perfect. So today, I know this week I promised you to do branding and marketing. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about branding. A lot of y'all need to take some branding courses, and I know I do. I know I'm working on that. So some of these different things in regards to branding, and I know when we think about branding generally, you're thinking about, like, I mean, look, I'm wearing the EXP hat. You see the EXP on the board over there, which is the brokerage that I'm affiliated with. But I wanted to more so get into branding about yourself, because as we go into this digital marketing age, as we're getting more from a push kind of marketing or branding, where it was, before, it used to be the big balloon. I'm not going to say who they are, but we know who they are, but there were certain brokerages, and I'm going to speak in regards to real estate, of course. There were certain brokerages that knew how to market and brand themselves properly. So now when you were calling, most consumers were looking for these huge names, the Remaxes, the Century 21s. And I'm going a little bit further, but those two just ring a bell. Even here now, at this age that I am now, I can still think about Remax when I was younger, still think about Century 21 when I was younger. Those names carried a lot of weight, therefore they could ask anything of their and Remax actually still does, of their agents, because they were paying so much in branding. So your brand kind of goes before you, right? So when you pick up the phone, you say, "Hey, this is Mike," and you say whatever name it is. If it's one of those brands that spent a lot of money on marketing and did good marketing, because some people spend a lot of money on marketing and it's not really good marketing, it's not memorable. That leaves a thought process ahead of you. It almost gives you a one up compared to another brokerage who was maybe a mom and pop's brokerage, right? Nowadays, it's not so much of that. People are really looking as you as a person, because now we can just really look you up. Before, it was hard to look up certain stats and certain realtors or what was going on. Now most people are going to Facebook. Most people are going, they go to Google, they're going to YouTube, they're going to see you. So this gives you a great time in order for you to create your brand, right? And so my opinion is that your brand should be authentic, and authentic is one of those huge buzzwords that everybody, be authentic. Like, what does it mean? And it's interesting because I think a lot of people don't even know how to be authentic because they lack identity. And this is going to affect you, because if you want to be authentic, when you are authentic to your brand, it makes it so much easier for you to come up with different things to market and brand yourself. Well, let me not say market, to brand yourself, right? Because if this is you, then you have no problem coming up with different things to do. You're not following the latest TikTok video because you have no identity, right? You see a lot of realtors, and they're not bad realtors, but they're doing these things because they don't have identity. The faster and the more in depth you get with your identity, the better your brand is. There's probably nobody better to me personally than someone like Gary Vee. I think Ryan Serhant is pretty good as well, but he probably learned his brand, right? He wasn't a great realtor until he became the $1 million listing realtor, and I'm sure he had people coaching him along the way. There's a hint. So what does your brand represent? Your brand, or what should your brand represent? Your brand should represent you. Your brand should represent your values, right? So for me, my values are integrity. I'm high on integrity. I'm high on results oriented. That's why sometimes you see me with little Rubik's Cube. Like I'm a very solution oriented person. Communication is huge. And so when I go back and I look, and this is authentic to me, when I go back and look at myself, which will help you to become authentically you. And if you don't like when you go back and look at yourself, you can also learn to change these different things based on your core values. you can start to massage them to your liking, or to where you see yourself. When I go back, I can see everything that I did went back to a lot of communication, joining Toastmasters, always attempting to be more skillful at communication. Going back to integrity. Integrity was just something that was passed down to me from my grandfather, my mother, my father, etc. So it's just like these different things. And what was the last one? Was and results oriented. That's just my makeup. So I took a lot of the great things that I thought about myself and that I identify with, and I put that all in together and made my brand. Now, what are the cons of that? Sometimes I can come off rather dry, right? Like some people, when they go, I'm not the super excited person, right? It gets exhausting, So it's like, this is my brand, and this what works for me. And from that point on, I can match with people who are in line with my brand. Mike likes to talk numbers. If you have a conversation with me, we will be talking. Oftentimes we'll be talking numbers, or Mike at least knows his numbers. So if you ask me a question, I can go over numbers and why they are relevant to you, because I'm always doing researching and understanding numbers, and being very logical, etc. is a part of my brand, right? And that's what makes it so easy for me. This branding thing, and that's what people expect from me. So when my clients call me and we have conversations, they almost know what to expect. You know what happens when people know what to expect from you? When you become predictable, is that you become trustworthy, because people will trust you to be you. And that's what's missing a lot from a lot of different brands, right? It's a lot. I'm gonna leave it at that. Develop your brand so that you can become predictable to your clients or customers or prospects. And when you become predictable, you become trustworthy. Shout out to Chris Voss, because he really hammered that in, right? Okay, guys, that's it. It's President's Day. I get to spend some time with the young ones. If you have any questions, remember you can always reach me. You see the number there as well, right? Any questions about real estate, etc. Let's have a conversation, man. I really do appreciate the time that you all take to be with me, be authentic, figure out your identity. And it'll make this a lot easier. See you next time.
A man reproduces himself through his child, so when he leave here, he can just smile. But I see fit to stay here a while, maybe buy a timeshare somewhere, rock bumwear, beach chair, write a book each year. You can write yourself out of your blessings, wreck your Lambo the first stages by driving too reckless. Time is too precious, these some obvious lessons. Please remind me to watch my step while I balance on edges, ski on the slopes of life, slide down the Ave at night, watching them graphing graffiti on walls, that's the sight. Cars from Germany, I be pushing the fastest type. Looking at real estate, brother, I need the asking price. Imagine another rapper making me perspire. I got more styles and more flows, plus I'm much flyer. I got more heights to reach, but I'm already higher. I'm already on to the next thing. Peace and bless, King.